Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video, we have a ton of high-level builds. There's something like 23 or 24 builds in this entire video, because of course we're going to be using the same stats for pretty much all of these. There's going to be a ton of information in this one, and if you're at a high level, you're going to be able to get extreme levels of damage. You're going to see some crazy stuff in this video. Bleed builds that can absolutely shred, and then of course we've got some really cool stuff with lightning as well, which becomes really good high levels also. Talking about the best seals, staffs, everything you need to know to do a lot of damage and to make the most of your high rune level in Elden Ring. And that's the basics for this video and the intro here. We're going to jump into a lot of different builds. We're going to start with some great faith builds, and then we're going to move on to the best bleed builds, etc. Go from there. Let's jump in and talk about the best faith builds. We're going to start with the most obvious one here, and that's the Blasphemous Blade. There's a couple things, though, that I want to talk about at high levels in terms of the Blasphemous Blade. First thing I want to mention, though, is later in the video, we're going to be showcasing some stuff involving staffs and seals. For this, we're going to go over weapons, a couple ones that are really phenomenal and do a lot of damage, and a couple less obvious ones, too, to kind of mix it up. But, of course, at the top of all faith builds is the Blasphemous Blade. There's a huge advantage here, though, because not only does my character have 80 faith, we have 80 in all damage stats, you can also get a ton of damage from your charged attacks and regular hits as well, because the Blasphemous Blade hits around 1,000 AR when you have 80 in strength, faith, and dexterity. In a second, we're going to go over equipment for this one. We have the Blasphemous Blade plus 10. We have the Golden Order Seal. I want to mention that we're using Golden Vow, Blessings of the Erd Tree, and Black Flame's Protection, Shard of Alexander, Talisman of the Dread, Fire Scorpion Charm, Two-Handed Sword Talisman, Flame Tier, Blood Sucking Correct Tier, and the stats are on the right. And next up here is the Bandit Fire Jump build. This turns into something incredible at high levels because you'll have over 800 AR in Flame Art when you use Flaming Strike with these. You can absolutely shred bosses, as you see the tree took a ton of damage there. And the jump attack, successive attack damage, as well as fire damage is huge with this build at high levels. I'll mention this later in the video because I'm going to go over slides and some information later in the video too. But as far as Flame Art goes, Sacred, Quality, etc., these are the things you should be checking out at high levels because you're going to get more damage out of them. The more scaling stats you have in a lot of situations, the more damage you're going to end up with at high levels. So if you're rune level 300 plus, you could probably do most of these at over 300. So focus on stuff that has multiple scaling stats. It's going to be big for you. Quality Affinity, as we mentioned, Flame Art, Sacred, Occult Affinity in certain circumstances. Again, we'll go over some of that later in the video, but that should be your primary focus. Let's jump into equipment. And we have two Bandit Curved Swords in Flame Art with Flaming Strike. We have the Golden Order Seal. We have the Jellyfish Shield for any incantation, so you can check out the armor set there. You need the Raptor's Black Feathers, Fire Scorpion Charm, Claw Talisman, Rotwing Sword Insignia, Melissen's Prosthesis. Then we have the Flame Tier, Blood Sucking Correct Tier. Our buffs are Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, Blessings of the Erd Tree. And the next one up here I want to check out is the Spear of the Impaler. Now, the Spear of the Impaler has some issues, no doubt. It still doesn't have a lot of poise. Even if you actually get over 100 poise, you can still get knocked out of it. It definitely needs more hyper armor, but it gets over 800 AR if you're at high levels. And if you have high dexterity and high faith, you can get a lot of damage out of it. And of course, it's extremely fun too. I recommend checking out the Spear of the Impaler from the DLC if you're at a high level. Let's jump into equipment. We have the Spear of the Impaler plus 10. We have the Golden Order Seal. You can check out our armor set there. We have the Fire Scorpion Charm. We have the Shard of Alexander. We have Rotwing Sword Insignia. It can build up on successive hits. Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman, Flame Tier, Blood Sucking Correct Tier, and we're using Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessings of the Erd Tree. Surprise sleeper for faith builds is going to be the Serpent Flail. It can give you around 750 AR if you have high levels, if you have 80 in all damage stats like I do, but in this case, if you just have 80 dex and 80 faith, so again, you could probably do this around rune level 300 or so. Again, we're talking about high level builds here, but this one could do a lot of damage. It's actually really good for a Flail at higher levels because it has multiple scaling stats, and getting around 750 AR with a Flail is pretty good. The second here, we're going to go over equipment and everything you need to know. And we have the Serpent Flail, plus 10 preferably. We have the Golden Order Seal. You can check out our armor set here. The Winged Serpent Helm will boost this Ash of War, Shard of Alexander, Fire Scorpion Charm. We have Erd Tree's Favorite plus 2. We have the Arsenal Charm +1, and we have the Flame tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier. We're using Golden Vow, Halishaberry, Blessings of the Erd Tree, and we had a light equipment load for that one. Yeah, equipment load is something you can mess with, which is awesome. You can make light equipment loads at higher levels, of course, because we have 50 endurance. Next up, we're going to talk about the Euporia. Gets around 800 AR at high levels. It's pretty incredible. Does a ton of damage, honestly. And this is still one of my favorite weapons in the game and one of the most powerful weapons. And at high levels, it's even better. Yeah, this is one you're absolutely going to want to check out. It doesn't have a ton of physical damage scaling. It gets a D, I think, at strength and dexterity, but it gives it a little bit of an extra punch if you're at high levels. And then, of course, we have 80 Faith, so we're going to be getting a lot of damage out of the Astral War, too. I love this one because you can build up to the beam, does a ton of successive attack damage, and the Astral War is great, too. Let's jump into equipment. We have Euporia +10. We have the Golden Order Seal. You can check out our armor set there. We have the Shard of Alexander, Sacred Scorpion Charm, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia. We have the two-handed sword talismans, awesome with the Euporia, Holy tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier. We're using Golden Vow, Halishaberry, Blessings of the Erd Tree, and Moog Shekel. The next is the Fire Knight's Greatsword. Now, there's a couple different things you could do with this weapon. If you put it in Flame Art, it's relatively the same at high levels. It's a little bit better, of course, but it doesn't have a ton of extra scaling aside from the B and Faith. If you use this weapon, though, in Quality Affinity, or pretty much any of the other affinities, you'll have multiple scaling stats and more damage. I just like running it as a Faith build, a Fire Faith build, and of course with Flame Spear, you're going to have over 950 AR, which is pretty incredible, and even though I get beat up here, you're going to get a good amount of damage, good amount of fire damage, and a good amount of poise damage, of course, too. You can get some posture breaks with Flame Spear. Of course, all footage is New Game +7. Between the first run of DLC and then DLC Plus, it's a mix of both. Fire Knight's Greatsword, Flame Art, Flame Spear. We have the Golden Order Seal. Winged Serpent Helm will boost the Sash of War. Godfrey Icons, Chargeable. Fire Scorpion Charm, Shard of Alexander. Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. Flame tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier. Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, Blessings of the Erd Tree. And some weapons that are amazing at high levels. Blasphemous Blade gets around 1000 AR. Giant Crusher and Occult, Quality, Flame Art, and Sacred. Fire Knight's Greatsword gets close to 1000. Bandits and Flame Art gets over 800. Quality Great Katana gets over 800. Quality Zweehander is awesome. Anvil Hammer gets over 1100. Moonveil gets close to 800. Check out Quality, Flame Art, and Sacred. And next we want to talk about the best bleed build. The best bleed build in Elden Ring for me is going to be the Bandit Curved Swords, and I'm going to explain why right now. I'm going to go over the order in a little bit in terms of AR and blood affinity, but I want to talk about why I love these. First things first, they have amazing reach, and despite him sidestepping there and me missing once, actually twice in total, he sidestepped too, the damage and the amount of times you're going to hit is going to be phenomenal. In blood affinity, they have the highest AR amongst all regular curved swords, and of course, that's going to lead to them being the best. Between the reach and the highest AR, and the fact that they scale with strength, dexterity, and arcane and blood affinity, giving you 3 scaling stats, it's no doubt why they're so good. We have 2 Bandit Curved Swords and blood affinity with Seppuku. We have Golden Order Seal. We have the White Mask and Raptor's Black Feathers. And we have Lord of Blood's Exaltation. We have the Claw Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Melissen's Prosthesis. We have the Bloodsuck and Crack tier, Thorny tier, Golden Vow, and Halishaberry. Now, another great one is going to be the Gargoyle Twinblades. The Gargoyle Twinblades actually get similar AR at high levels compared to the Bandit Curved Swords. They're relatively similar. I chose Bleed and Frost here. But for me, I don't hit as well with them. The reach tends to not be as good for me personally, and I like the Bandit Curved Swords over these. But if you're a Twinblade player, these are definitely the best in terms of the Twinblades and bleed builds. Jump into equipment. And we have 2 Gargoyle Twinblades, one with Seppuku and Blood Affinity, one with Chilling Mist and Cold Affinity, Golden Order Seal, White Mask, Raptor's Black Feathers, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Claw Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Melissen's Prosthesis, Bloodsuck and Crack tier, Thorny tier, Golden Vow, Halishaberry. And here's an example real quick of what they can do as a pure blood build and blood affinity for both of them. We get a lot of damage here. I mean, they're really quite good. I just have a hard time with them. I tend to hit more with the Bandit Curved Swords. I tend to get a little bit more physical damage as a result, but they're definitely comparable and they're both very good. And now for other bleed builds. The most brutal blood build, because the amount of AR you get and over 200 bleed build up, is Bloodfiend's Arm. It's absolutely incredible with Endure. If you run Endure, Black Flame's Protection, Golden Vow, and Blessings of the Erd Tree. These are great buffs for this build. You could take a good amount of damage, even trade hits in some circumstances on New Game Plus 7, and still get some posture breaks too. I added in Swarm of Flies as well because it's a great incantation to complement a build like this to give you consistent bleed build up. There's the posture break there. Sometimes before a scene, if you posture break a boss, if you run up real quick and hit him again, it'll give you the break if you did not critically break him before. Doesn't always work, but for the most part it does, so it's always worth a try. In that case, I ran up to him and tried to break him, and it ended up working out. And to clarify, I mean you didn't get in your critical hit. If you didn't get in your critical hit, sometimes it'll give it to you, but you have to be really quick. And he tried to go up for his meteor, and we got another break. Of course, again, we're going to get another blood proc there, 10,000 damage in total. Lots of damage with Bloodfiend's arm, over 200 bleed build up. This is a weapon that's absolutely worth checking out with 80 strength and 80 arcane. It's going to be one of those incredible weapons you need to try. Let's jump into equipment. And we have Bloodfiend's Arm plus 25 and Blood Affinity with Endure on it, Golden Order Seal. We have the White Mask. You check out the armor set there. We have the Two-Handed Sword Talisman. We have the Axe Talisman, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman, Spike Crack Tier, Opaline Hard Tier, and then we showed the buffs earlier, but I'm going to show them again real quick. We were using Golden Vow. We were using Blessings of the Erd Tree. For a lot of these builds, this is the setup for some defense and for some attack, and then Black Flame's protection. Another one that's absolutely incredible at high levels is Repeating Thrust, specifically on the Sword Lance. This weapon gets an absurd 169 bleed build-up with 80 arcane, and if you have 80 strength, you'll have around, I think, a little bit over 700 AR in total. So a lot of physical damage, an insane amount of bleed build-up, and of course you're getting pierce damage too, which is also a great damage type. This is one you're going to want to check out as well if you're looking for a non-jump powerful bleed build. And at the end here, you're going to see me stack some damage. We're going to end up stacking damage here, and it ultimately, 3 uses of the Ash of War. I thought it was going to be 4. 37,000 damage with 3 uses of the Ash of War. Wow, being a high level, truly incredible. We have the Blood Sword Lance with Repeating Thrust, the Golden Order Seal. We have the White Mask. You can check out our armor set there. Shard of Alexander, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Melissen's Prosthesis. We have the Thorny Tier, Blood-Sucking Crack Tier, Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessing of the Erd Tree. And now for an incredibly fun bleed build. The Smithscript Greathammer, it's honestly awesome at higher levels. You get a decent amount of bleed build-up and damage from the throwing attacks. Not as much as I would like, even at higher levels, but it's still decent. And then up close, if you use your charge attacks, you'll get an insane amount of bleed build-up with all the contact you make. And of course, you'll get poise damage too. And I also use Savage Lion's Claw for this one for a fun Ash of War, and Fraser's Greatsword in the offhand to boost Savage Lion's Claw. This is one to check out if you're looking for a fun build. And we have the Smithscript Greathammer plus 25 and Blood Affinity with Savage Lion's Claw, Fraser's Greatsword in the offhand, Golden Order Seal. Use the White Mask to boost it further, Smithing Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Lord of Blood's Exaltation. We have the Two-Handed Sword Talisman, and then we have the Green Burst Crystal Tier, Blood-Sucking Crack Tier. And we're using Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessings of the Erd Tree. Next up here, one that's sneaky good is the Venomous Fang. Getting over 500 AR, a really good amount of bleed build-up, and deadly poison. This is one that can absolutely shred, as you saw there, 32,000 damage. We're going to end up taking down Midra relatively quickly. I do get hit a couple times here, but the Venomous Fang is going to be a weapon that's going to prevail more often than not, even if the hitboxes aren't the best. And yeah, the hitboxes on fist weapons for me aren't my favorite because sometimes they just flat out miss, but the Venomous Fang is worth checking out at high level because over 500 AR, it doesn't sound like a lot, but on a fist weapon that's pretty incredible. And then the bleed build up, the poison, proccing Kindred of Rot's Exaltation and Lord of Blood's Exaltation, all around it turns into an incredibly powerful bleed build. Let's jump into equipment. And we have the Blood Venomous Fang plus 25 with Endure on it. We have Golden Order Seal. We have the White Mask. You can check out our armor set there. We have Kindred of Rot's Exaltation, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Melissen's Prosthesis, Thorny Tier, Blood-Sucking Crack Tier. We're using Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessings of the Erd Tree. And here's the order of the best bleed builds. In terms of AR and Blood Affinity, number 1, Bandit Curved Swords. This is for curved swords. Then the Grossmesters. Then the Beastman Curved Swords. My favorite all around is going to be the Bandit Curved Swords in Blood. And the best bleed builds for Twinblades, Gargoyle Twinblades, Twin Knight Swords, and then the Peelers if you're looking for Blood Affinity. I believe they are third. That's going to be the order there. And next up, we're going to talk about the best seal and the best staff in the game. The best overall seal for the high-level builds is going to be the Golden Order seal. That's because it scales with both faith and intelligence, and it gives you a ton of scaling. At 80 intelligence and 80 faith, I'm going to have over 390. If you have 99 and 99, I believe it's something like 418 or 420, somewhere in that vicinity. Either way, it's going to give you a ton of damage based off its scaling alone. I'll have a slide after I go over the staffs and seals that'll explain certain circumstances where it doesn't apply, but there's very few. The Golden Order seal universally is excellent at high levels, and honestly, you should have it on hand at all times. For this build, we've got the Golden Order seal. We had the Deadly Poison Perfume bottle to proc Deadly Poison. We have the Jellyfish Shield, Rakshasa set, Kindred Rod's Exaltation, Godfrey Icon, Phlox Canvas Talisman, Sacred Scorpion Charm, Holy Tear, Bloodsucking Crack Tear, Golden Vow, Black Flames Protection, and Blessings of the Erdtree. And now we're going to talk about how to boost your damage a little bit. This isn't going to be anything extreme, but it's how I ended up getting the one shot at Baal in the beginning. Took me less than an hour in total. Honestly, it wasn't too bad to take him down in a single strike on New Game Plus 7 with DLC Plus. And then after we bring our HP down to what you see on screen, we're going to use Blessings of the Erdtree. Then we're going to use Golden Vow. Then you're going to want to use the Priestess Heart again to make sure you have the buff. Then you're going to fill up your FP. After of which you're going to use Howlish Shabriri, and then the last thing that we're going to do is proc Deadly Poison and Kindred of Rod's Exaltation, and then you're going to want to equip the Golden Order seal, and let's see what we can do here, although you've already seen this in the intro. Try to time it to make sure you have under 20% of your HP, and then don't target Baal. Instead, back off, try to get a good window for like the side of him, and then hold the charge down and let it go. His target lock absolutely sucks, and funny enough, I totally forgot to heal. I had plenty of time to heal there, obviously it counted, but I forgot to heal because in about 45 minutes, Baal went down in one shot, and I didn't think it was going to be that easy. Let's jump into equipment. We have the Golden Order seal, Deadly Perfume bottle, any sword with Seppuku on it, Gravelstone seal for the offhand boost, Godfrey Icon, Kindred of Rod's Exaltation, Lightning Scorpion Charm, Red Feathered Branch Sword, Lightning Tear, Bloodsucking Crack Tear, Priestess Heart, and we showed the buffing order in the beginning. And now we're going to jump into another buffing order. You're going to use Golden Vow, Blessings of the Erdtree, and then Howlish Shabriri. The last thing you want to do for this one is cast Terra Magica, Jellyfish Shield, and then lastly, you're going to drink your tier because it has the infinite FP tier in it, and this is going to be your high-level Comet Azur build, and this is going to be absolutely insane as you saw in the intro. It ends up totaling to 85,000 damage, I believe, which is pretty incredible. Being a mage is easy mode, especially at high levels. Let's jump into equipment. And we have the best staff in the game, the Prince of Death staff, scales with intelligence and faith, Golden Order seal, we have the Jellyfish Shield. You could check out our armor set there. We have the Magic Scorpion Charm, Graven Mask Talisman, Graven Skull Talisman. We have the Ritual Swords Talisman. We have the Magic Tier and Cerulean Hidden Tier as well. Alright, best seals and setups. Best overall seal, the Golden Order seal. Second best, the Dragon Communion seal. Use Golden Order plus an offhand seal for passive boost based on incantation. The only time this doesn't apply is if you're using Dragon Communion incantations, in which you use the Dragon Communion seal for. Best staff, Prince of Death staff. This is the best staff except when boosting Night Comet or spells boosted by the staff of the Great Beyond and Returnal staff. And now some great weapons to try. The Anvil Hammer, I think we mentioned this one earlier, but at plus 10, you're going to get over 1100 AR. I think it actually amounts to close to 1200 with the Anvil Hammer. This is truly an absurd DLC weapon. You get a ton of poise damage with the charge attacks. They're great. The Astrovore does poise damage. That's also good too. Has great faith and strength scaling. So if you're at a high level and you have 80 strength and 80 faith, you're going to get a ton of damage out of the Anvil Hammer. This is a weapon you're going to want to try at higher levels. Let's jump into equipment. And we have the Anvil Hammer plus 10 preferably. We have the Golden Order seal. You can check out our armor set there. We're always adding a little bit of defense in there. Shard of Alexander, Axe Talisman, Fire Scorpion Charm. We have the Two-Handed Sword Talisman. And then we have the Spike Crack Tier, Bloodsucking Crack Tier. And then, of course, you're going to use Golden Vow, Howlish Shabriri, and Blessings of the Erdtree. Now for DLC, I switch out the body buff for Black Flame's protection. I want to mention that throughout the video. I think I might have mentioned that already in some of my videos, but in general, they hit really hard, so Black Flame's protection is a good substitute, so you can take a little bit of damage away. And if you're in DLC, go for Black Flame's protection over Howl and over Flame Grant Me Strength, because the extra defense is incredibly helpful. Now I want to talk about Messmer's Soldier Spear. Messmer's Soldier Spear is incredible in quality affinity at high levels. You're going to get over 800 AR. You get pierce damage. It's just a ridiculous weapon at higher levels. You can see right there, 9,200 damage. And Royal Knight's Resolve applies to both hits on the charge attacks. It will apply to both of them. So as you can see there, we ended up with 9,200 damage from both. This is one definitely worth checking out. And it's an example of how good quality affinity can be at high levels. Check out all weapons in quality affinity to see what AR you'll have. Let's jump into equipment. And we have Messmer's Soldier Spear, Quality Affinity, Royal Knight's Resolve, Golden Order Seal. We have the Rakshasa set on, Solitude Chest Piece. We have the Axe Talisman. We have the Spear Talisman, Ballistin's Prosthesis, Two-Handed Sword Talisman. And then we're going to have the Charge Tier, Bloodsucking Crack Tier, Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessings of the Earth Tree. And next one to talk about here, another one that gets around 1,000 AR is Rennala's Twinblades. These aren't ridiculous. They're not super overpowered, but they do a lot of damage. You get a lot of successive attack damage just with regular hits with them. And then, of course, because we're at a high level, you could use the beam to good effect or the fire part as well, because we have 80 faith and 80 intelligence too. This is one of those weapons that gets really good when you have 80 dex, 80 strength, 80 faith, and 80 intelligence. And there's the beam part to good effect, over 9,000 damage. And then you have that fire part too, which is pretty cool. I think we do end up using that here. But the regular hits are a real highlight too, because they end up being a lot of damage, or at least more than I expect. I think I used the fire part earlier. But yeah, the fire part, not too bad. The beams are definitely better, much like the Sword of Night and Flame. And the weapon itself, the regular hits, they end up being pretty good. For this, we have Rennala's Twinblades plus 10. We have the Golden Order Seal, part of the Rakshasa set on. You can check out the armor set there. Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm. We have the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Rennala's Cameo. We have the Magic Tier, Bloodsucking Crack Tier, Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessings of the Earth Tree. And next up, we're going to talk about Radahn swords. Radahn swords aren't really that amazing at high levels, but they do get better. You're going to get over 900 AR, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, even with the Lord Sword, which I like better, it doesn't really add up to much. It's holy damage that scales with intelligence. They're kind of weird weapons, and they don't really hit that hard. They're just okay, but they are fun to use. Let's jump into equipment. We have the Greatsword of Radahn plus 10 Lord. We have the Golden Order Seal. You can check out our armor set here. We have the Shard of Alexander, Sacred Scorpion Charm. We have Urtree's Favorite plus 2, Ballistin's Prosthesis. We have the Holy Tier, Bloodsucking Crack Tier, Golden Vow, Hal Shabiri, Blessings of the Earth Tree. And next one up, another really fun one to check out is Devonia's Hammer. This is pretty amazing because, again, you're going to get over 1,000 AR. Also, on a random note, I never fought this boss in the DLC, so I had no idea that he spawns one of the most obnoxious enemies in the game on top of you. I had to actually avoid this because I kind of forgot how to fight them. But yeah, this Tibia summon apparently summons that, and it's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, first time fighting this one. Devonia's Hammer, though, pretty good weapon, over 1,000 AR, has good strength scaling, a little bit of faith scaling too. You'll get some physical damage, some holy damage, and of course you're going to get a good amount of posture damage too. This is one worth checking out, along with Ordovis's Greatsword. Let's jump into equipment for this one. And, of course, after we fix the poison issue here, we have Devonia's Hammer plus 10, preferably Golden Order Seal. You can check out the armor set there, part of the Rakshasa set and Solitude set. Godfrey Icon, Sacred Scorpion Charm, Shard of Alexander, Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Holy Tier, Bloodsucking Crack Tier, Golden Vow, Black Flame's Protection, and Blessings of the Earth Tree. Next one to check out is going to be the Meteoric or Greatsword. This is one you should definitely take a look at because it also gets around 1,000 AR. It does a good amount of physical damage, only a little bit of magic damage that lightly scales with Arcane. It kind of has weird scaling, but at higher levels, given that it scales with so many stats, you'll get a good amount of damage out of it. And of course, it does decent poise damage too. The Astrovore is also incredibly fun to use. By the way, I know during the equipment and stats, I go over everything really fast. There was a lot to squeeze in this video, and as a matter of fact, about 10 or 15 builds in total. A whole bunch of them got left out of this video because I really didn't want it to originally be over like 20 to 25 minutes, and it ended up being 30. So I have all these extra clips. If you want to see more high-level builds, be sure to hit the like button and comment below, and I will make a part 2 to this video, maybe going into more obscure weapons like I did last time. Let's jump into equipment. And we have the Meteoric or Greatsword plus 10. We have the Golden Order Seal, part of the Rakshasa set on Solitude and Blade's chest piece, Shard of Alexander, two-handed sword talisman. We have the Dragoncrest Great Shield talisman, Erdtree's favorite plus 2. We have the Magic tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier, Golden Vow, Black Flame's protection, and Blessings of the Erdtree. And some cool weapons to check out are the Meteoric or Greatsword, Devonia's Hammer, Orduvus' Greatsword, Messmer's Soldier Spear and Quality of Blood, Rennala's Twinblades, Serpent Flail, Radahn Lord Sword, Brick Hammer and Flame Art and Sacred. For more, we have Black Steel Twinblade and Sacred's awesome, Black Steel Greathammer, Perchescent Cleaver. Check out multiple weapons with multiple scaring stats. Rivers of Blood and Eleanor's Pole Blade get a lot better at higher levels. Yeah, there's a lot to go through with this one. Now we're going to talk about weapon buffs. They're absolutely incredible at high levels. An example here is to take Scholar's Armament and put it on Bloodhound's Fang. This will give you around 1100 AR. I believe it's between 1050 and 1100 AR in total with Bloodhound's Fang. That's just pretty incredible. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about that. It's absurd to get that much AR from Bloodhound's Fang. And then at any time, because we're a high level, we can switch back to Bloodflame Blade and go right back to a bleed build. This is the versatility that you have at higher levels. I'll show off this build, what I did for this one too. Ultimately, it gives you a lot more variety, and I'm going to show a couple different things you can do in terms of variety upcoming here. Let's jump into equipment. And we have Bloodhound's Fang plus 10, obviously. We have the Prince of Death Staff, which is amazing for this. We have the Golden Order Seal. You can check out our armor set there. We have Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Magic Scorpion Charm, Shard of Alexander. We have the Erdtree Favor plus 2 Talisman. And then lastly here for our tier, we're going to have the Magic tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier, Golden Vow, Halishiburi, and Blessings of the Erdtree. Another absolutely amazing one is going to be a Battlemage build. Any Battlemage build at this high level is incredible because you have the Prince of Death Staff, which is awesome. If you want to throw in the Golden Order Seal, you can do that too. And of course, you have things like the Darkmoon Greatsword, which is going to give you a ton of magic damage and a little bit of physical damage too. Here we're going to use Rennala's Full Moon, and then after that we get a debuff there. We can switch to a Duelist Moonblade with our staff, still get a pretty good amount of damage without even worrying about Terra Magica or the Jellyfish Shield, and then switch back, of course, and use the Darkmoon Greatsword to get a lot of damage with that. At high levels, you have a lot of versatility, but intelligence is particularly strong. It's very strong to begin with. Once you're at higher levels and you have the Prince of Death Staff and weapons like the Darkmoon Greatsword, you can pretty much crush the majority of the bosses in the game without any problems. Intelligence is incredibly overpowered. Let's jump into equipment for this one. And we have the Darkmoon Greatsword plus 10. We have the Prince of Death Staff. We have the Golden Order Seal. If you want to wear the full Rakshasa set, you could boost the damage. If you don't have the DLC, the Spellblade set works for the Darkmoon Greatsword, Godfrey Icon, Magic Scorpion Charm, Shard of Alexander. We have the Graven Mass Talisman. We have the Magic tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier, Golden Vow, Halishiburi, and Blessings of the Erdtree. And next up, we're going to go to the final build on here, and that is an all-purpose build. I want to show how to do this. This works with Bleed because we have a quality affinity Great Katana with Bloodflame Blade, and then we have things like Frozen Lightning Spear we can throw in, and then of course we have Glintstone Icecrag too, which we can use with the Prince of Death Staff. This is one of those builds that's just going to be absolutely ridiculous because you could do anything. You could use this excessive attack damage to then switch to other attacks like the Glintstone Icecrag or the Frozen Lightning Spear and get a good amount of damage out of them. Stuff you can do at high levels. We have the Quality Great Katana plus 25 with Spinning Weapon, Prince of Death Staff, Golden Order Seal. We have part of the Rakshasa set on and Solitude chest piece. We have the Shard of Alexander, Lord of Blood's Exaltation. We have Magic Scorpion Charm. We have the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia. Then we have the Thorny tier, Bloodsuck and Crack tier, Golden Vow, Halishiburi, Blessings of the Erdtree, Bloodflame Blade, Frozen Lightning Spear, and Glintstone Icecrag as well. And lastly on here, final notes, always look at weapons that scale with multiple stats. Golden Order Seal and Prince of Death Staff are amazing at high levels. Use offhand seals for passive boost, same with the staffs. Keep it fun. At high levels, you have a lot more variety. You don't have to stick to one thing. A general rule for hybrid builds is going to be 2 talismans for your weapon and then 2 talismans for your incantation or spells. Mixing them in that way tends to work really well. It can be really powerful at high levels. And thanks for watching this one. Thanks for tuning into my high-level builds, where you're honestly going to be so overpowered. So many of these are broken and incredible because you're a high level. Keep in mind, you could do any of these at rune level 300 plus. You're generally going to want at least 60 in the stats that we talked about for each build, and then up to 80 if you're at even higher levels. Be sure to sub. Make sure you hit that like button and comment if you want to see a part 2 for high-level builds. And of course, I will catch you in the next video.